So welcome again, everyone, to today's session, Introduction to Systems Building. Thank you very much for being here. And I am Yasmin. I'm going to co-host and co-facilitate today's session with my colleague Joss Colchester on behalf of the SI London Hub. And some of you know, some of you may not know, so it's always good to share this information in the beginning again. This is part of the Systems Innovation Learning Series that the London Hub is organizing since February, actually, which is very exciting. So we plan to create a 5-month learning experience and go through the main ideas of systems innovation with you. And today we are introducing our 5th and last module of this learning series, which is systems building. So this session is going to take 90 minutes. It's being recorded, so feel free to turn off your camera if you feel more comfortable to do so. And we are going to have the chat available for Q&A, address any comments that you want. So feel free to just type away on the chat, and we're going to look at it during the session. So as I said, this is part of this 5-month learning experience that we've started on February. And now we are here in the introduction of systems building, our 5th module. And we're going to introduce the main concepts on this topic. And next week, we're going to have systems building tools. We're going to introduce some of the canvases and tools that we have here at SI. And on our last session, it was supposed to be on the 21st, but we confirmed with our speaker that is going to be on the 28th, actually. So for you that are already subscribed to this event here, is just notice that it's on the 28th right now. Okay, so you have the links here to access these ones if you're not there yet. So feel free to just press here on this link on the top right, and you're going directly to the event. Okay. So let's check our agenda for today. Okay, my laptop's a bit slow, sorry about that. Okay. So we're going to start with this 5 to 10 minutes introduction. Afterwards, we're going to introduce the concepts of systems building. It's just going to take roughly 30 minutes. Then we're going to have a breakout room session that is going to take roughly 30 minutes as well. Then we're going to come back to the main room to share the main outcomes and insights that you had during your discussion on the breakout room. And to finish off, we're going to have the next steps and wrap up of today's session. So for us to start, this concept of ecosystem, I think some of you may have heard about it in your biology classes a couple of years back, or maybe you were sleeping during this class, I don't know. But I would like you to help me remember, what is an ecosystem? So this is going to be a very important topic for today's session. So I invite you to put your sticky notes around this image here with some definitions or some ideas on what do you think an ecosystem is. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes before we start talking better about this idea. Did you manage to find the board well?
Sorry, would you share the link to the Miro board again?
Yeah, sure. Okay, just share it again. Or just a couple of ideas. What do you see here in this image? if you don't need to get too caught up in definitions and very specific ideas, but what do you see here?
Environmental friendly actions to achieve sustainability or sustainable development.
Okay.
We can say as well, focus on increasing the green areas to protect the environment.
Okay.
I think as well, ecosystems means the integration between social, environmental, economical factors to achieve the balance and to reach a sustainable environment, or maybe something like this, to reach the balance of the three main pillars of sustainability.
Okay. Wow. My job is done. I don't need to say anything else, I guess. I'm joking. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, those are very important ideas here, definitely. Thank you.
I guess I would say
I can say another one. Yes. Okay, go on. Thank you.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, like, a ecosystem to me is like a system of systems, basically, that where these various systems are working together in a coordinated way to help everything else flow smoothly.
Great. Yeah, this diversity that we find here is essential to, as who was saying before, sorry, was it Gada that was sharing before? Sharing about the sustainability, right? The equilibrium that creates here in this image. Very good inputs. Thank you. We have some stickies here. An interconnected environment. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I can't hear you at the moment. I think I'll just read straight.
We can.
Sorry.
Yes,
so
make the interrelation.
Yeah.
Yes, between social, economical, and environmental aspects.
Yeah, for sure.
To achieve, to reach to the balance through using one of the main sources is clean energy, using renewable sources such as sun in this water to generate energy from water, like green hydrogen. Maybe using different natural resources to achieve this balance. Instead of depend on the non-renewable sources. So we can depend on the clean energy or generate clean energy through using natural sources.
Yeah, 100%. I think some of the main ideas that you've put here is this idea of diversity and the interconnectedness and the function that each one of these elements have in this ecosystem, right? In making this ecosystem sustainable. So some of these other stickies they are here: interconnectedness, coexistence of species. Everything in the picture relies on something else. So I think all of you participated very well in the biology class that you've participated before. And in general, the definition that I wanted to give of ecosystem here is a bit of everything that you've all mentioned. It's basically a network of diverse actors or elements that create this ecosystem through a variety of different relationships. And each one of these elements has very specific and distinguished functions, but they all work together synergistically to create this equilibrium, as you're talking before as well, and give rise to the function of this specific ecosystem, which is to sustain the life on Earth, right? To make sure that all of these elements are interrelated and working together in synergistic ways. So I'm going to put this video here, which I think it's very good to introduce this idea of systems and ecosystems. Can build upon that. And you can write on the chat, what do you think about this video as well? Okay. So let me make sure that you can listen to it.
According to Donella Meadows, a system is a set of parts that is coherently organized and interconnected in a structure that produces a characteristic set of behaviors. And many of the biggest challenges we face, the climate crisis, food insecurity, growing inequalities, are difficult to overcome because they are the results of complex systems interacting. Creating change in these complex systems requires taking a holistic view of issues. For example, understanding how different parts of the systems relate to each other and making changes across all these interactions. And this might mean collaborating with actors across diverse and also unexpected areas, experimenting with approaches that may have never been tried before. And this contrasts from time to time with mainstream approaches to tackling our biggest problems, which often prioritize siloed, shorter-term interventions. So what does a system change look like? It means integrated and coordinated interventions in economic, political, and social systems, supporting many different but connected initiatives. This allows a spread of options to be tested and experimented with, accelerating learning on which solutions have the potential to be scaled. Seeing transformation across systems also means being uncomfortable with the unknown, as the results of interventions are not easy to predict. This requires a mindset shift to value experimentation and continuous learning to allow unexpected results to emerge and to flourish.
So, anything you'd like to share about this video? Maybe some ideas that struck you. Integration and interrelationship, very crucial to create sustainable, resilient systems. For sure.
So she mentioned as well the integration as a crucial part, and she focused on the main challenges now, especially food security. Yes. Because now it's one of the main challenges all over the world. You know, nexus part, which is related to the food security part, energy generation or generating energy depending on renewable sources, water, and I think as well the other parts. One of the food security parts is I think systems related to the agriculture systems, maybe,
yeah.
which can create the ecosystem balance. I think integration in here means she mentioned the three functions I mentioned, which is economical, environmental and social factors.
Yes, yes. And yeah, a very important point here as well that she mentioned was wicked challenges are creating these ecosystems, building ecosystems in order to tackling wicked challenges. So I'll just pass it over to Joss, sorry. So we can start exploring this idea of why building ecosystems. So over to you, Joss.
Great, thanks, Jasmine. Great to be here and see you all. Thanks for joining. And let's jump in to continue the conversation around why ecosystems. Why are we talking about these things in the context of systems innovation? And here's a graphic that's certainly resonated with a lot of people we shared it with, and it can be a good starting point, this idea of wicked complex challenges that we're trying to address in systems innovation. And we know we have this iceberg, and we know that at the top of the iceberg, what we see in the world is often just the kind of outcomes, the results of the system, the events, should we say. And that's up here, and we know we often try and address them just as individual events and try to fix problems, and we call them linear solutions or linear approaches. But I guess this is a little bit of a recap of what we've covered in this course so far, as we've talked about systems thinking and all of these different approaches. But we know down here, if we're talking about a complex wicked problem, we have a lot of stuff going on. We have all these roots. This is the bottom of the iceberg, or the bottom two sections, where we have all the mental models, and we have the systemic structures and all sorts of things around incentives and habits and cultural context and regulation and history and power dynamics and so on and so forth. And this is kind of the reality of these wicked problems, whether that's corruption or political instability, or it might be conflict zones would be good examples that engender all these different aspects. And I guess what we're talking about with all this systems approach is how do we, move away from this linear approach and start to embrace all this complexity and then work with it. So that's that. We've covered all that in previous sections. The question then is, how do we go about that? And the systems approach is about not us trying to, change the system. It's kind of impossible. That's what these people up here are trying to do, right? They're trying to change the system themselves. In this systems innovation approach, we're recognizing all this complexity in the system. We're trying to help the system become aware of itself. And then, of course, we're trying to bring these different actors together across the system so that it can change itself instead of us trying to do everything, which is kind of impossible. And that's why we talk about an ecosystem approach or collaborative approaches, because we need these actors across all these different dimensions to change things. So we're talking about, we looked at climate kick. We're going to be looking at them as a case study today. That's what this lady was. This lady works for Climate Kick. They're an innovation ecosystem here in Europe trying to address climate change. And they aren't just taking this kind of approach here of how do we address that problem in a linear fashion, just try and decarbonize everything. They know that this is a wicked complex challenge. There's all this stuff going on down here. They have to change regulation, they have to change incentives and all sorts of things all across Europe is what they're trying to do. So they build an ecosystem. Yasmin's going to show us what that looks like in a bit. She has a graphic there. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to move away from this siloed linear approach here, where we often find ourselves in our different organizations, our different boxes, kind of recreating the wheel and each trying to address the problem in a linear fashion. And we're trying to create new networks in the system that bring those actors together in synergistic ways around the challenge. And this is it here. Systems change is about mobilizing whole networks of diverse actors to create new patterns of organization. And it's really, when you start considering these kinds of challenges, you recognize this is the only way, really. We have to bring the system, different actors across the system together in the right way for them to be able to change it. So that's what we're talking about. When we say growing one of these new networks, we're talking about innovation ecosystems for systems change.
Yeah, exactly. And this video here is a summary of what are innovation ecosystems and why do we need them. So if you could, yeah, it was created by Deloitte. So
An innovation ecosystem is a group of organizations, large companies and small companies, who are united with the sole purpose of creating amazing innovation that makes an impact.
So we have a great alignment of interests with all of the constituents in the ecosystem, like to make sure that the technology is at its best and people, understand how they can build better games or better experiences with it.
By being part of an ecosystem, by being part of a platform play, you can bring the best of what you are to this larger solution, this end-to-end solution, which our clients are really looking for.
So you need to create a connected system to be better plugged in.
I mean, the reason why we do it is to get scale and engagement. We want to make sure that we provide them with good technology, they provide us with good feedback.
These ideas come from crowds, clouds, collaborators, competitors, and maybe even co-creators.
So for the startup, the importance of an ecosystem is really around how do I get out there? A startup tends to be very good at what it is good at.
So in order to harness that, you need to create a system, a dynamic community of these players to work together.
And when you bring people together, they have a network effect and they build on top of each other. So the innovations don't just get linearly better, they get exponentially better.
We've all realized that now bringing the best of breed from the marketplace makes more sense. We at Deloitte are very good at what we do, which is integrating best of breed solutions for our clients. I need to work with the ecosystem to find those best of breed partners to then build them out as an end-to-end solution for our clients.
Okay, so it's a little insight into how different many organizations are actually thinking about building ecosystems today, recognizing the kind of complexity of the challenges we face and the need for this approach. And it can lead to, they're referencing it there, they can lead to a much greater capacity. I mean, that's the ultimate idea, that we can move up from individual organizations recreating the wheel down here to greater forms of connectivity and collaboration. And ultimately, if we're really able to manage to connect and bring in the different actors across this this system, we may be able to achieve something that's quite challenging up here, the systems change thing, where the systems actually has that capacity to change itself, which is quite often not what we see. If you go into most cities, most industries, most value chains and so forth, you'll see more like a group of actors down here or something like this, where they're aware of each other and that they're interacting and so forth. And you may see some collaborations, but almost never, very rarely see anything that looks like this. So this kind of systems-wide collaboration where there's an actual supporting platform, there's an infrastructure for getting alignment, for getting synergies towards some overall challenge. And that's what we're really aiming for in systems building, ecosystem building. We're trying to build up from these single point solutions up to this network of actors aligned and coordinated. And when you have that, you can get incredible capacity, you can get incredible scale, you can get incredible speed of change and transformation, and the system's capacity to actually change itself. And then you can get real kind of paradigm shifting stuff like we're talking about. And this is the internet, right? And how that's exploded and really changed the paradigm here in our economies, in our societies around the world, in an incredibly brief period of time. We're talking about 30 years since we first started sending emails. And now it's basically rewired how we do so many different things around here. So this is what we're talking about when we say systems change, those kind of transformational changes. And it really requires getting to this higher level capacity, this higher level of coordination across a network of actors and building that ecosystem. And there's many different dimensions you can talk about there, but ultimately it's a lot around alignment, right? How do we go from this? We go into a particular sector or industry or city or whatever it is, and we'll see that actually actors aren't really working together in a productive way. They're often misaligned. And then how do we start to move towards something that has greater alignment around an overall purpose, an overall intent? So it could be homelessness in your city. There's probably a few foundations or charities and so forth trying to address that. They probably, quite often, they aren't making much progress. I'm thinking about the context of London here, where we have challenges like homelessness and poverty, which we haven't really made progress on at all, even though London and England is very rich in organizations trying to address those. It has a massive amount of non-profits and foundations and so forth. But we haven't achieved this kind of alignment, this kind of systems changing capacity that would really be needed to move the needle on something like poverty here in London, which has stayed around 25% for relative poverty, about 25% for the past number of decades, without any improvement. So that's that.
So we have a few questions here, actually. From Bruce, these discussions use natural systems as the visualization for SI, but the focus is on organizations created by people, which are not the same type of evolutionary structures. Can anyone offer some reading or the similarities and differences that support the use of natural systems as a basis for managing people-based systems?
Yeah, a lot of the, if you search for terms around living systems, a lot of the ideas in systems change, draw analogies from ecosystems, from living systems. For example, processes of growth and decay that we see in ecosystems, we'd also see play out in many different systems. So if you search for maybe living systems and systems change, you could learn more about that.
And there's a question from Danielle. Josh, can you elaborate a little more on the nuance between collaborations and systems change?
Yeah, well, they're part of the same thing. Maybe I go back to this graphic here. So we do know we have collaborations. I guess it's that collaborations can often be piecemeal, right? So if we have a system here and a group of actors, they may be collaborating. Collaboration is when two people, two organizations get together and they see a shared purpose that they can't achieve individually. So they work together around that shared purpose. It's not just transactional, like an exchange down here where I have one thing and we exchange, the thing that you have for what I have. Collaboration is when I have something, you have something, but we're going to put them together to create something that doesn't exist yet. And we both know we have to do that. But it doesn't say, is that happening across a whole network, or is that just happening between me and you, right? So if we go back to the example of homelessness, we might just have two organizations here that are collaborating, and that's great, or three or four, but it's probably not going to change the system. It's not until we really get a whole network, a whole platform and infrastructure for collaboration across all these actors around a shared purpose that we're going to start to get systems change.
Good. And one last question from Ali. What is your idea on degrowth?
Yeah, it depends how you interpret growth and degrowth. I mean, I think I don't have anything against the word growth. I think it's what kind of growth, right? If it's more GDP, then we probably want degrowth, yes. But if it's more, you know, human development and all those good things, then we probably want more growth. So I think it's a question of, you know, how you frame that. If you're framing it in terms of economic development and GDP, well, then I think we need a different kind of growth. We need, you know, not a quantitative one, but a qualitative kind of growth instead. And I guess degrowth in the context, in the sense that we shift from a quantitative form of growth to a qualitative form of growth. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, as an example, there's this graphic here. As it's saying that the snapshot of the European innovation ecosystem on energy transition. And so the UN has this, the European Union had this goal of making Europe the first carbon neutral continent by 2050. And because of this goal, they brought these different diverse stakeholders together, different elements that we can say, in order to be together, to collaborate, to use their own, as in the video said, to use their own capabilities in different ways to actually use that in a way that is going to going more towards this goal that they put as making Europe a carbon neutral continent. And as Joss was sharing before, this idea of alignment here, I think it's very interesting to see that even though several of these stakeholders have very different functions inside this ecosystem, they are all working towards the same goal. So in a way, the alignment here is very strong, if more than if they were working separately, right, by themselves, or just coupling with a couple of them together. So just bringing all of them together and creating the synergy, is that what creates the innovative aspect of this ecosystem here. And if you go to the other one up there, this is more about the numbers, and I think this one is quite interesting, that the in energy, which is this branch of the European Union that accelerates the idea of energy transition, they're actually bringing, for example, 1,200 partners together alongside the energy team and several portfolio companies. So all of these different stakeholders are actually co-creating this ecosystem. So I've added the link here on the top as well, on the top right, for you to explore that a bit deeper. But it's just to have a sense that there are ideas happening at the moment that are actually using the idea of ecosystem, not just in theory, but is actually putting in practice in order to achieve this greater goal. And yeah, I just wanted to share this example here, so you can explore a bit deeper afterwards, but just to make sure that we see that in reality as well.
Yeah, and then the question is, how do we develop and grow such networks? Other activities, that's the idea of an ecosystem builder. People, organizations that try to build these kind of networks and nurture and develop and grow them, we know they will likely start from something very small and evolve into something more complex. I mean, this is something of incredible complexity. And how do you nurture, grow, and develop that? And then, of course, how do you orchestrate it? How do you coordinate something with 1,200 partners and all these different types of diverse actors? We can see research institutes, startups, portfolios of companies, so on and so forth. And down here is really interesting article. I don't know if you have the link, maybe you put the link in here somewhere. I found this article very fascinating. It's by Margaret Wheatley. It's on the life cycle of emergence and talking about how emergence is how nature in ecosystems, we see radical transformation, how organic systems change themselves. And things like movements in society are actually very organic systems. They aren't really engineered, they're self-organized and they emerge over time. And they're saying they start off with these dispersed networks of people, and over time they develop into communities of practice, which are actually kind of self-aware and supported in learning and developing and growing, and ultimately may become a system of influence, which is an actual system in the world that has an influence that is actually has capacity and so forth. And I'd put it as recommended reading. If you could drop the link in the chat, maybe. Yasmin, thanks, because it really outlines how across a wide variety of systems we see emergence leading to transformation. And they try to pick out some of the learnings from that as to how we can actually make that happen in terms of trying to build new networks and ecosystems that ultimately may become systems of influence, institutions in society that are doing things in new ways and transforming existing systems. So there's a few different dimensions to this before we go into the breakout rooms. Few different considerations. Let's say if we just went back here, it's an interesting graphic. Again, how would we orchestrate, how would we develop and grow this? In our guides, do we have the link to the guide also here, Yasmin, on ecosystem building? We pull out a few different dimensions to doing this kind of work and what's needed. And we're going to look at it now in the canvas, actually. Maybe that's a good reference point. We can see here, we're going to need some kind of a platform for supporting this ecosystem, right? So if we look here, it's the European Union that's supporting this ecosystem. It's not happening by accident or random. We can be quite sure behind that is an infrastructure of a team of people, and they have some kind of a platform for supporting this ecosystem in learning and developing. So we're going to need a platform for supporting an ecosystem. That's essentially the coordinating, orchestrating entity that's supporting its development. And then a series of activities that we'll do to try and develop and grow this ecosystem. We're going to have to help the actors connect. We saw that over here, right? This is not an ecosystem here. This is just a group of organizations. Our first step is going to be, how do we actually bring them together and get them connected, get them connecting, interacting in some way? We're not going to form anything until they're interacting. So we might do, for example, here in London, we've done a number of conferences bringing together people from across different organizations who are working in the area of systems innovation, systems change. Our London hub is trying to build an ecosystem like this for systems change here in London, here in the UK. And the first thing we're doing is going and thinking, who are these actors? Who are these people? And how can we bring them together? So a conference is like a platform where people can come together and start to interact, start to have those conversations, start to form those collaborations and so forth. So that's really a starting consideration. Nothing's going to happen until we have a connection and interactions. We want to think about what is that space? What is that platform? We see in SI, our network, we have a community website, right, that allows all those members to join and discover each other and so forth. So that's the starting thing. Okay, well, you've numbered it a little bit different, right? You put awareness here as the first one, which is the first consideration. How do we make people aware that actually they share a common interest, they share a common identity? So these people back here who wrote this paper, Margaret Wheatley and Deborah Fries, they give the example of the rise of alternative technologies, energy technologies back in the mid-20th century, wind, solar, hydrogen, or hydro, as examples of a changing system, right? We know those energy sources are now starting to change our energy system, but back in that day, they didn't actually recognize themselves as a common thing as alternative energies. So they said the first thing they need to do is go and identify them and make them aware that they're part of something broader than their individual initiatives. That's going to be key to building an ecosystem, information, awareness, and so forth, so that people actually understand what's going on and that they're part of some common identity. Then connecting, learning is absolutely critical to all of this systems innovation work, because when you bring these actors together, they may not properly understand the challenge, and they definitely don't know how to really work together around the challenge. So there's a whole pile of learning they have to do, learning about the challenge and then learning how to work together around that. So learning is going to be key, and we'd have to craft and develop a set of activities for that to happen. We know if you see any innovation ecosystem, they'll have these different aspects. They will have things like seminars, things like well, universities maybe providing courses and so forth for people to learn about this, and so on. Finally, here we've got co-creating, so that the actors in the system can actually start to have spaces and have formats and have structures for them to collaborate and work together around the challenge. It might be labs, it might be projects, it might be whatever it is, for them to actually have that structure for them to work together in a systematic way around that challenge. So that was just pulling out some of the key aspects there. How are we doing for time, Yasmin? Are we going to jump into this, or do you want me to jump back?
The idea now is to go to the breakout rooms. And as I've added the key topics there, I'm going to open the breakout rooms and you can choose the topic that you're interested in discussing. So education, cities, food, organizations. And yeah, so once you get there, as Joss was explaining, you can follow the numbers and try to identify one wicked challenge or one challenge that you would like to address during this quick exercise. We're just going to have 30 minutes roughly. So identify one challenge in this specific topic, either education, cities, food, organizations, that you're going to use for this specific exercise. And then you follow this order that Joss just presented. And we can come back to the main room afterwards to discuss the main ideas that you've shared.
Yeah, just to clarify, we'll create 4 breakout rooms. If you choose number 1, you'll be in education. Number 2, you'll join here in cities, so on. So how long is it?
Yes, 30 minutes. So I'm going to open the breakout rooms now. Yes, Sophie, you can choose the number that you'd like to be in. And please choose a representative, which is going to be the person that is going to talk about the main topics that you discussed during the breakout room with the whole group when we come back. Is that clear? Yes.
So when you choose, if you choose number 2 as your breakout room, you'd land here with a group of others. You'd first choose who's your representative, who's going to share back with us afterwards, and then you'd choose your challenge and maybe put that in the center there. And then you'd start with, actually, it's better to do this the other way around. It's maybe, okay, we can do it like that. Start with 1 and then work through and post up your ideas about how we're going to raise awareness around that and how we're going to connect people, how we're going to learn, so on and so forth.
Is that clear? Any questions? Seems all good. Oh.
Do we need to log in so to work on Miro?
You don't have to. You could just discuss with your colleagues and they could post stickies up for you, but good if you can.
Yeah, I'm going to open the rooms now, so feel free to join the ones that you want to talk about. Yes, Yvonne. Yeah, you first choose the challenge that you'd like to discuss in one of these topics with your colleagues, and then start the exercise from 1 to 5. Does it make sense? Oh, didn't open the room, sorry.
Can you please say the again, as I'm working from home?
Sorry, would you like us to explain again?
Education, then the next, what's the next one? Or
Yeah,
second
so
one?
you choose which topic you would like to discuss with your colleagues. At the moment, we're going to spend 30 minutes doing this exercise. So we choose just one room to be in, 1 for education, 2 for cities, 3 for organizations, and 4 for food. And you identify a challenge with your colleagues, and then you walk through the canvas from 1 to 5.
Okay, thanks.
Are people able to see the breakout rooms? You should have an option in front of you. Nope, some people aren't seeing it.
Okay, so let me assign.
Yeah, Carl.
Okay, if you're having any problems accessing the room, then put the number here on the chat. Stacy 3. Charles 1. Okay. This is Sophie 1. Hello. Welcome back.
You end the rooms.
Yes, sorry everyone. I know, yeah.
We're still
After the
working.
breakout rooms, we wish that we would stay for longer, right? But yeah, we'll just need to wrap up this session soon. But you're always welcome to come back to this mirror board. It's going to be yours forever. So you can always come back and work on that when you want. Okay. So let's see what happened during these breakout rooms. Let me share my screen. And
you guys might have to do a completely like a whole session on organizations. Just
yeah,
because
yeah,
it is a lot.
Yes, I saw everyone just jumped into the room tree, but we're just trying to summarize the main outcomes of the session. But we can start with the education here, since we actually just ended up having 2 rooms. So we can go to education, and maybe the representative would like to share the main ideas that were raised during this session, and mainly how did you find the canvas, the usage of the canvas in trying to understand this platform building experience?
Okay, so I'm gonna by default be the representative for this breakout room. It was a classical case of missing the first step. So yeah. like normally it goes when you have sessions like this. So obviously we are a diverse group from different countries in the world: Colombia, Iran, South Africa, and Italy. We had a quick session where we just shared a few ideas from our personal experiences, what a potential goal could be in terms of a challenge. And then we decided to go with like a very broad statement in terms of the goal of education. And then specifically the bottom left red sticky there, to make it more tangible, would be, what is the reflection of education when it comes to what the market really needs and how we prepare students for that. And then we jump to number 2 before looking at number 1. And defined a few actors we potentially see if we look at high school students specifically, Ministry of Education, educators, NGOs, local education officers, students, parents, municipalities, depending on the structure, and the broader community. And then at the bottom there, if you can just scroll down a little bit in terms of learning, what could be potential activities, running some kind of educational programs, something similar to parent-teacher meetings. And if we jumped into the top left, that would be our next step. How, then jumping to number 1, we should have started. How do we share the awareness of this challenge? An idea was, how do we show people the current state of education? How do we show or make aware, where students are in terms of the current state? And then potentially invite people to participate in information sessions to have a discussion around this.
Good. Awesome. Thank you. And in summary, do you think it was a good way to organize these areas, and then did it make more clear for you this idea of ecosystems building and platform building through the usage of the canvas?
So for me, yes. I think in retrospect, looking at how we went about it, maybe looking at actors was helpful, just to maybe clarify more the challenge, defining actors, I would say. And the rest of the team can also comment how they experienced it.
Oh, since we don't have much time, I would like to hear from the organizations group as well, but you're more than welcome to use the chat to add here. But thank you, Charles. And I'll go to the organizations group now. So I think you had a lot to discuss here. So maybe just a summary of the main points that were raised during the session, and how did you find the usage of the canvas during this discussion? Anyone?
Okay, well, I think that the initial discussion tried to get us to understand the level of organization that we were trying to talk about. There was some difference of opinion of whether we were looking within a single organization or across organizations. And that was some interesting discussion and brought out some of the items that are on the board. I think we got more focused as we went on, but I'm not sure that we really worked our way fully around the template to get to a solution with it. It's only the second time I've seen the template, so I wasn't sure exactly how to help move us along. Anyone else?
Yeah, that was a nice summary there, Bruce. Nice one. We kind of got kind of sidetracked on the single organization. I found it very difficult to for me at least, understand what the challenge was, and there was a kind of a dialogue around that, and I think, you know, Danielle brought this up and helped us to understand really what we are trying to do is to encourage organizations to see the benefit of systems thinking and systems innovation practices, to think about, first of all, you know, your organization is a system, and what does that mean in terms of how that system operates, and how do people operate differently in that system. And when you think about the value creation in your organization, how do you start to connect into other organizations to deliver value? What does that mean? How does that work? How do the boundaries shift? How do people engage across organizations? How do you empower people in those situations where they're kind of out of your control, you know, to engage, and you know, how do we empower them so that they are happier, so that they are more engaged, that they deliver more value in that ecosystem, and kind of in the middle of that, how do you apply systems thinking in your line of business in order to deliver more value? We didn't really get into the nuts of using the canvas, but I think, you know, and the flip answer to that was, hey, there's the SI network, they're doing a great job. They've got a platform, they've got people, they've got, you know, communities, they've got content, they've got projects, they've got, I mean, wow. So, you know, the quick answer to that is, you know, more marketing power to you guys. More channels.
I think that's a great outcome.
More people, yeah, more outreach. Yeah. So
great.
Yeah, that's where we came out anyway. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Bruce, and thank you everyone for participating. And yeah, as I said, this Miro board is yours. You can always come here, review the content, and use the canvas to experiment with other challenges as well. Okay, so just to finish off with a quick quote here, just to summarize some of the main ideas that we wanted to bring to you today. So there is no linear solution for a complex problem in a system. Rather, with partners, you identify what are the blockages and bottlenecks in the system, including the political ones, and where can you intervene to do something about them. So it's this idea of the synergy and the emergence that you can actually see coming out of the interrelationship of all the actors and the elements working together to a common goal. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for participating. I've put some resources that we used during the session here, and if you have any resources that you'd like to share with us as well, share with your peers, your colleagues, you're more than welcome to put them here as well. We're always happy to see some new resources and to learn more from you as well. So feel free to put some interesting stuff here. So coming up next, tools for systems building. It's going to be our next session next week. Same place, same time. And yeah, hope to see you all again. And as always, you're going to find this recording on the YouTube channel that we have the link here, but you're more than welcome to follow us on, of course, the Systems Innovation Network website, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And last but not least, we have a feedback session here. So yeah, as always, for you to share with us if you get a good understanding of the concepts today, if the format of the session was effective in helping you understand the content, and any ideas that you would like to share with us for us to improve next time and in the other sessions as well. Okay, so thank you very much again for participating. Hope you have a good end of your day or beginning of your day, depending on where you are, and hope to see you very soon. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Yasmin.
Thank you,
Josh.
Thank you for all. Have a nice day, everyone.